Just a few weeks ago, these chili pepper seeds were barely breaking through the soil. And now they look like proper little plants. They're still in the propagators, but the growth has been fantastic and I couldn't be more pleased. Before we check out the progress on some of my chili plants like the Warthog, I wanted to mention that today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. In my seed choosing video earlier this season, I mentioned that I was learning Android development on Skillshare to create a mobile version of Seedsio. The development is coming along nicely and I have made some decent progress. Still, I have a long way to go, but the learning side of it has been fun. And while browsing around Skillshare, I've discovered so many other valuable resources, whether you want to improve your social media reach, get help running a business, or something that I found particularly useful, classes on improving productivity. Skillshare has thousands of classes led by industry experts, and what I really appreciate about learning on Skillshare is how practical and actionable everything is. You're not just watching, you're actually doing and implementing what you learn. The first 500 people that use the link down in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, and you can check out what they have to offer. And if you get started today, I'd love to see what you can create. It feels like just yesterday that we planted these seeds, making sure the temperature and the humidity were just right. Now they've sprouted and some already have their 3rd or 4th sets of true leaves. It's just amazing to see how much they've grown. And I get such a buzz out of coming in here and checking on my plants. I know I do this every year, starting my seeds and seeing this progress, but still it gives me so much joy to be in here and check in on my lovely chili plants. For the most part, the seedlings are looking healthy and compact, but you will notice some are a little leggy. I'm not too concerned. I'm quite cautious at the start of the season with the strength of light because every variety reacts differently. And, not only can you stunt the growth of your plant if you have too much light, but you can actually kill them, especially at this very young age. The thing is, when you pot up, you can bury the seedling up to the first leaves, whether that is the cotyledons or if you take the cotyledons off like I do, you can just plant it until it hits the bottom of those leaves. And what will happen is the roots will spread and you'll have a lovely, compact, healthy plant. Before we dive into the Warthog chilies, I wanted to give a quick mention to the JB Variegrande. These seeds were kindly sent to me by John Booth, the JB in the Variegrande. They are variegated ricotta, and it's going to be really interesting to see how they turn out. I've never grown a variegated ricotta. I have many other variegated seedlings, but yeah, this one looks like it should be quite interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they turn out. I'll be keeping a close eye on them and will update you on their progress in future videos. If you remember from my seed choosing video, I mentioned I was going to try and start some seeds that somebody had sent me from Bhutan. They actually come from a dry spice, so whether I can get them to germinate or not, that's going to be the question. And the great news is I managed to get some to germinate. Look at this. We have 3 beautiful plants here. I have trimmed back a couple seeds that came up because I planted many, many seeds in each of these cells because I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge, but that's looking lovely and healthy. It's stretching quite a bit, stretching for the light. So yeah, it obviously likes a bit more light. And as you can see, I have some plants here, you can just see it out of frame a little bit, that are looking lovely and compact under the same amount of light. So obviously some plants are going to like a bit more light than others, but I'd rather go a little bit less light than a little bit too much light because that's more of a problem. So we have this one, and this one. We have 3 lovely plants, and I'm really looking forward to trying those pods later on this season. While I was checking out the Bhutanese chilies, I noticed this plant over here, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to show you something. This here is what's called edema, and it happens when there's too much moisture around the plants. You can see it's on that leaf over there as well. And don't worry too much about it. Obviously, you don't want this to be happening for too long, but take the lids off your propagators or just let some air into the propagators and this will start going away. There's been a lot of moisture in here, so of course it's going to develop some of this edema, but that'll recover just fine. Another good indicator that you got too much moisture around your growing is when you see roots start to develop above the soil. And this in fact actually demonstrates a great point. So some people argue that chili plants don't develop roots when you plant them deeper into the soil, but as you can see here, those roots are developing directly out of the stem above the soil, which obviously there's a lot of moisture here, so that's why it's doing it. But the same thing will happen when you bury this thing down to just below the leaf level there. Those roots will develop all the way up that stem. So yeah, just another little sign that you probably need to take your propagator lid off or at least open up the vents. Now, let's have a look at the Warthog. I am growing two phenotypes. This one has me really excited. It's rumored to be one of the hottest chilies ever, and both phenotypes are growing really strong. Now, whether or not they end up being the hottest chili or not, I mean, that's one aspect of why I'm growing them, but I also would like to see a lovely, healthy plant. And well, let's just take a look at them. We can see that they are growing well and they are looking strong, but yeah, time will tell. The Warthog seedlings are showing quite a bit of variation here. So that tells me this isn't a very stable variety, and it's not 100% bad thing, but it's not ideal when you are trying to do what this chili is trying to do, which is claim that spot for the hottest chili in the world. You need some consistency. But you can see here, this is interesting. I might keep that one. I might replant it, but there's got a little bit of asymmetry on the leaves, which I enjoy in some plants. There, the leaves look pretty much okay, but there's a little bit of variation on there as well. That looks pretty normal, but again, the leaves aren't fully symmetrical. That one there's a bit of a beauty. That's nice symmetry. And at the back here, again, a little bit of asymmetry on the leaves, but yeah, that one's looking all right. That one there, however, is completely different. That's also a Warthog. So both these lines of seeds are Warthogs. That one there's got some dark leaves. Sometimes that can be because of too much light, but then you'd expect these ones also to show that. But yeah, we've got quite a bit of variation here, and it's going to be interesting to see how they develop as we go on. The stems are sturdy, the leaves look healthy, and if they keep this up, we're in for an exciting season from these plants. Maybe a bit more exciting for you because I'm the one that has to try them later in the season, which I'm not too sure I'm looking forward to. I kind of am, but yeah, also a little bit cautious. I can't wait to see how they develop over the next few weeks, and it's going to be interesting to see how quickly we can get fruit from this later in the season. A lot of you have been growing along with me using the ChiliChump seed kit, so here's an update on how those varieties are doing for me. Of the 30 seeds I planted, 28 have germinated, which is pretty great success rate. And here are the average number of days each variety took to germinate. I'll put it up on the screen as well. But let's run through them quickly. We've got the Padron, that took an average of 6 days across all seeds. Turkish Flower, also 6 days. The Serrano Tampiquino, 9 days. The Basket of Fire, a little bit of a surprise. That took an average of 10 days. Generally, they would come up a bit sooner in my experience. The Nagamaric did really well, 8 days. I didn't plant too many of them, but they came up nice and strong. And another surprise for me, the CC Jigsaw Brain. In all the testing I've done in the development of this specific variety, typically I'd get between 6 to 9 days in terms of germination. And in fact, it was the first seed for me to actually germinate. That took 6 days, but across all the seeds that I planted for it, 12 days on average. So far, all are looking healthy, and I'm excited to see how they continue to develop. Let me know in the comments down below how your ChiliChump seed kit plants are doing. I'm very keen to see how they are progressing. Even though the ChiliChump seed kit is sold out for this year, we still have plenty of varieties available at chilichumpseeds.com. So go check them out and make sure you sign up to the newsletter so that you get alerted for next year's seed kit, which will be a bunch of different varieties that I will be hand selecting, and some of them will be growing in these propagators. But yeah, if you get signed up to the newsletter, then you'll get alerted and hopefully you won't miss out on the next season's seed kit. Now that things are really moving, it's time to think about the next steps. The immediate change I will be making is opening up the majority of the vents on my propagators. In fact, I've already done this with most of my propagators. It's just one that I still have kept the vents closed because I still have quite a few seeds that are going to be germinating. This is the last seed trays that I'd started. So still a little while for those, but the rest, vents are open. We're getting some air to them, avoiding edema or any other problems with too much moisture. Now, I hesitate to do this too quickly where I open the vents because I want to maintain the heat and the moisture levels for as long as possible to get as many seeds to germinate as I can. At this point, there are a few seeds that haven't germinated within the ones that have got the vents open, but not too concerned. The majority that I want to grow, they are doing just great. Over the next few weeks, I'll be potting up some seedlings and keeping a close eye on their growth, and we'll pot up more and more as time goes on and as they reach the size that I'd like them to be before they get potted up. I will also be starting to use a very diluted seaweed fertilizer. I would recommend that once you start seeing the second set of true leaves, consider adding some light feeding, and I mean light. For the seaweed fertilizer, I'm using half to even a quarter strength as to what it's recommending on the bottle itself. You really don't need much. Number one, I don't want these plants to grow too quickly. I want them to tick along nicely and get the roots nice and well developed. I just don't want to run out of space inside here. It's not as big as it might seem on camera. It's really small. And the other reason is there's just no real need for it. Every time you're potting up, you're adding in some fresh compost, some fresh soil in there, and there's plenty of nutrients in there as well. I don't want to give the roots everything they need in a concentration, like with a fertilizer, because then they don't really have an incentive to grow. So I'm trying to maximize that root ball. For those growing along with me at home, how are your plants doing? Any successes, any challenges, any problems? Drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear how your season is going. That's it for today's update. But trust me, things are only going to get more exciting from here. If you haven't yet subscribed, now's the time. You don't want to miss what's coming this season. I am so excited for it. The last couple of seasons have not been great. I know a lot of you have suffered the same way I have in terms of growing. But this year, I have a good feeling. And there's some amazing content that I have planned. Some experiments, obviously a lot of growing videos. But there's going to be plenty of other stuff as well that are going to keep you glued to the screen. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And until the next one, stay spicy.